So, what is going on in the real estate market? We've got houses that are sitting, prices that are dropping. Are true prices coming down? Are sales prices coming down? What exactly is going on in the market? Well, we're going to dive deep in that. This is going to be a two-part video series. My name is Sean Price. I am with eXp Realty, the Price and Price group here at eXp Realty. And stay tuned as we go through these next two videos. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the general pulse of the market and what's been happening over the last 7 to 14 days. We're going to dive into some graphs. We're going to get into some statistics here so that you can see very clearly what's been going on. But the general pulse of the market is that it feels like properties are sitting a little bit longer than they had been, 6 months ago. It feels like prices are seeming to calm down quite a bit. It feels like the market is slowing, which, as we will see, the market is in fact slowing. Or softening. I'm so sorry. Hold on 1 second. I just got an earbud warning. I want to go into detail with you about what's been going on in the market, not only in the last 14 days, but I also want to look at the market overall and see where it stands in the last this month. The month of August compared to the month of August a year ago, so we can kind of see what the tendency is towards the market. A lot of people right now are in a place where they're trying to time the market, and the real estate market is very, very difficult to time because there are so many factors that are involved. There's a saying out there that says the best time to buy real estate was 30 years ago, and the second best time is today. And I am a subscriber to that saying because the fact of the matter is you never know what it's going to do. There are strategies that you have to take into play when you're looking at what the market's currently doing. So you want to make offers appropriate to what is actually happening in the market. And if you're selling, you want to have expectations that actually match what the market's doing. But outside of that, trying to time the market, most of the time people end up missing it. For example, I've got a lot of buyers right now that are sitting on the sidelines expecting prices to come down. And the fact of the matter is, as we're going to see through the statistics, there's no evidence and no indication that prices will be coming down anytime soon. And while market activity is slowing quite a bit, the actual values themselves are still continuing to rise. They're not rising nearly as much as they were a year ago, but they are continuing to rise. So let's just dive into the numbers here and let's see what's going on, okay? So if you look at this graph here, just in case this is your first time watching our weekly market report, the orange line is our buyer activity, and you can see over the last 7 days, the buyer activity was down 28%. Now that's important, but if you see, so this was the last 7-day dip. If you look at the last 14 days, you can see there was, if you go back 21 days, you can see there was an increase during this week, and then there was a significant increase the week prior to now, and then we had a decrease of 28% over the last 7 days. Inventory, the blue line, is actually up 23%. Well, what's significant about that is if you go backwards, you can see that it was flat last week. And then the week before that, when school started, there was a significant decline in inventory. So what's important about this? You see this gap right here? Buyer activity, the numbers that we use when we're tracking buyer activity on our weekly market report, we're using leading indicators. We're not using closings because closings are historical. Typically, a closing will take anywhere from 30 to 60 days to actually happen. So we don't look at the actual settlements or the actual closings. We look at properties that have gone under contract or pending in the last 7 days because that's giving us the most recent history to determine buyer activity. So when we're looking at pendings or active under contracts, in order for those events to occur, there has to be inventory, because if there's not inventory, then there's no contracts to be had. So when we go back to the graph here, and you can see that we had a decrease in inventory here, a decrease in inventory here, and then it stayed low here. Well, buyer activity still continued to increase because it was eating up all of this excess inventory. But what happened is buyer activity hit a peak while inventory maintained its bottomed out state. And then when inventory finally did increase this last 7 days, the buyers didn't have anything to buy, so that's why buyer activity went down. So basically what happened is Buyer activity was increasing, inventory dropped, buyer activity continued to increase, inventory stayed flat. Now there's no more inventory for buyers to buy, so buyer activity dropped this past 7 days, but in this past 7 days, inventory clicked back up. So what that looks like is that, oh my God, inventory is going up and buyer activity is coming down. Well, the fact is the buyers didn't have anything to buy. So now that this inventory has gone up, I really expect next week that buyer activity will pick back up again because the buyers are out there. We're getting a lot of calls from buyers. The buyers are definitely out there. The buyers themselves, they do have an opportunity right now because there's not as much competition. There aren't as many properties that are getting multiple offers. But properties are still selling at 100% of their value. They're actually still appreciating, probably about 3 to 4% right now versus the 20% that we saw the previous year. But properties still are appreciating. So that's where my concern comes in for buyers that are kind of sitting on the sideline right now. We are 6 months into this interest rate hike. We are 2 months into this recession. We've been dealing with the war in Ukraine for as long as we have. So all of these economic factors that everybody's been kind of sitting around to see how that's going to affect the market, we're seeing that it is softening the market, but it's not bringing prices down. And what I mean by softening the market, if we go back to the graph, you can see that this is where the levels of activity were during the peak of all the chaos. And you can see that it's certainly at a lower number now. The number of transactions has certainly come down, but the pricing isn't coming down. The market is softening, but prices are not coming down. So it's just something that you really need to keep in mind if you are trying to time the market. If you sit and you wait another 6 months, those prices may continue to increase. So we're just going to see what happens with that, but that's, just keep this stuff in mind. Look at the numbers. Don't listen to the news. Remember, the news is out there to panic us, and the news is also giving nationwide numbers. The news isn't giving market-specific information. What's happening here, we are in a really unique market here that's completely different than what's going to happen in Idaho, for example. So really pay attention to your current market. That's why we do these market reports. That's why we try to do them weekly or at least every 2 weeks, so you have acute, up-to-date information on what's going on with the market. So if you go over to the strength of the seller's market versus buyer's market, you can see that we had a severe uptick into the seller's market 21 days ago. 14 days ago, it continued to increase. And then this last week, it dropped down because this gap here closed. So the numbers became more even. So we have more of a neutral market this week. Again, are we going to stay here? We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens because now the inventory picked back up again a little bit. I expect these numbers to go up here. Okay, so that's what's been happening over the last 14 days of the market. If you have any questions about this market report, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to do a one-on-one with you. On the second part of this video, I'm going to dive into the overall the month over month and what's been going on in the market over the longer term, not just in the last 7 to 14 days. Okay, again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. If you're watching this on YouTube, please click the subscribe button. We want to get this market report out to as many people as possible so people can make educated decisions when they are making their real estate choices. So please help us get the message out to more and more people, and the more subscribers we have, the more likes we have, the better we're able to do that. Okay, I appreciate you. Let me know if you need anything, and we'll see you on the next video.